What up people, how's it going? Welcome back to the day 3 video. We just looked at how to create an application without the block pattern logic. Yesterday it was very cool. We just did this. This may not look very pleasing, but this is what happened yesterday. We finished this one with a simple 2 images and 2 names of food items that we wanted to order. If you're new to this video, we've been doing this block pattern series for more than 2 days now. First day we started with what does a block mean and what is a Flutter block going to do, and in the second day we created an application that does not have a block pattern, meaning that we are just going to look at the normal set state methods and normal state management that the Flutter in itself gives us. In the third day, which is today, we're just going to look at how are you going to leverage the Flutter_block library, and we're going to use that to build the Flutter application. We're going to just move this Flutter application to a complete block pattern application. So how are you going to do that? We're just going to look at with this video. Okay, let's not waste any time and just get going. The first thing you have to do is go to your pubspec.yaml file and make sure that you add 2 important dependencies. The first dependency is the Flutter_block itself, and the second dependency that you need is the dependency called equatable, which is going to make our life so much easier. I'll tell you what these 2 dependencies are going to do. By now you should know that Flutter block is going to give us all the important widgets, all the important libraries, all the important classes that includes the block patterns to come into Flutter. Equatable, on the other hand, is going to make our lives easier by making sure that anything that has to be equated in terms of, say for example, an object string A and object string B might be equal, but Dart will still compute it as not equal because these are 2 different objects. So all of that, and we have to make sure that it is equal, and that is how the equatable library comes into picture. The dependency is going to take care of this for us. And once you do the packages that get, it's time to just go in and go into our main file. And even before you do anything, I would recommend you to go to your settings. This is Android Studio. I pretty much think that every IDE will have this plugin installed. So just go here. I've actually installed this plugin called Block Code Generator. This is actually from the same developer or the author who drew the Flutter block library as well. So make sure that you install this. You just have to go in and type block. So it's going to give it for you. Do not go for this one, go for this one, which is actually, it starts like this. It's released August 19th, very new, and make sure that it's installed. And once you're done, it's just go to time from here on. Just go to your live folder. We're not going to look at any of this for now, any of this main.dart, checkout.dart or store.dart for now. All you have to do is just go right click on your live folder and make sure that you include your block generator. Go to your block generator, new block, give your block a name. Block stands for business logic component. We looked at that extensively on the first day. I'll directly go, assuming that you guys know what a block means. We're going to look at the technicality of creating an application in this video. So block, go to just give it a name. I'm just going to give it a home because I'm going to draw a block for the first widget, which is the home widget alone. Let's just allow it to be inserted. It will be good practice to actually put everything inside a widget, inside a folder directory. I prefer it that way, and just make sure that everything goes inside that. It kind of is very clean and neat as well. So our home directory has 3 important classes, which is the home block, home event and home state. And block.dart is just a barrel file, so that wherever you want import, you can just import this file and it will automatically have imports of all the 3 important files here. So that is the first thing that you have to do. Just go to your main, just go to your event. Once you're done with this, it's time to just develop our first model file. Why are you going to do a model file? Since we have 2 important attributes, one is the name and the price, we have to make sure that this name and the price is consistent throughout the application. So we have to give some way of making sure that the UI and the background talks without even having to talk with each other, meaning that a model is going to make sure it's going to reflect whatever data is coming from the UI and it's going to give it to the backend, and whatever data is going to come in from the backend is going to give it back to the UI. So it's going to make sure that it acts as a template, and that is how the model is used. If you are aware of the Java models, and you're going to just create a simple model for our file as well here, it's always recommended to do that instead of having to go with simple strings and integers everywhere flying here and there. Just give a simple model. I will name it as a food model because it is a food. Once you're done, make sure to create the first class, which is the food model, and remember the equatable, make sure to take that. It's going to ask for import, just import that as well. Cool. Once you're done with this, it's time to just create the two important fields that we need. The first field is the food name as well. Food name. I'll just have it as name. Let it be final. And the next one is going to be the final integer, the price, the food. So right, this is two important attributes that we need. Next thing you're going to do is just go do a super call on that. Just give the name. And the super call is going to awesome. The simple model is created. We can actually override the toString to make sure that we have the consistency to go with. I'm gonna give it as food and price is going to be as simple as that. So we have done this. So our model is created. Make sure that you create a model everywhere, because we'll be seeing now how are we going to define the data that is going to come from the UI, and how is the data going to be represented in the UI. So all of that can be done through the simple model here. So everything that you want to create, make sure that you can break it down into simple models so that it's easy for the block logic to communicate. Alright, this is the first step. And the second step is to go to the home folder that we have already created here. Just jump straight to your home_state.dart. The work is already done for us here, meaning that we have already created a simple initial home state. So if you remember from our first video, everything is going to be in the form of event and state. So if you have an event, the event is going to be what the user wants, and the state is going to be what the user requires in the response to that event. We are going to define three important states. The first is the loading state, meaning that if no data is going to come from the user, let's assume that it's loading. Second is the added state, because for the first screen, that is home screen, we have to have a mechanism where when your user clicks the plus button, it is going to say it's going to be an addition to the database. The database is nothing but the store data.dart file that we have. I'll explain that as well. So when the user clicks on the plus button, it's going to represent an add event, and the response to that is an added state. Right, and similarly, when you click the minus button, it means the remove event, and the response to that is the remove state. So we just have to create those three states here, and creation is also very simple. Make sure to extend the equatable and have this dependency done so that it makes our lives easier. We don't have to worry about anything in terms of checking for equality. Once you're done with that, we're just going to start with the initial home state. We'll just name it as loading home state. That makes sense. And we are going to extend the home state as well. So again, do a super call. If you want to, you can do a super call, but since we do not have anything in response to we are not going to return anything, we can just give a toString here. Just have to represent what this state does, right? So just call it loading home state, and just be done with this. So first state is created. The second state, what is the second state? It's going to be the added state, right? Added home state extends the home state again, and we're going to respond in a similar fashion. We're just going to override and we're gonna just not do anything particularly here, because we don't have to do anything particularly in the response, because user is not going to see anything. User is going to, in the home state, see the +1 in the shopping cart icon alone. So why do you have to worry about anything in response to the first page? That is how you have to break things down. I'll just create the added home state and response string as well. And what is the third state, which is going to be the remove state. So I'll just create the remove home state extends home state, and we're just going to do an override on that as well. So string to string, we just can create removed home state. Great work. We have created 3 simple states, and this is how you create those states. Super easy as well. Jump next to the event. Home event is going to do the same thing for us. Make sure to extend the equatable class, and which is going to make our life super easy. And do the super call on this as well. This just means that if it's a list of props, if your list is coming from the event, make sure to go and call the equatable with that list of values. Alright, what are the 2 events that we talked about? The first event is going to be when the user clicks the plus button, it's going to be recorded as an add event, and when the user clicks the minus button, it's going to be recorded as a minus event. So we just have to create those 2 events here, which is going to be simple as well. Again, just create the class. I'll create the class as add home event extends home event. You're going to be requiring the first model that we created, right? When the user clicks the add event, what is he going to give? He's going to give the name of the food. So we have to make sure that the name of the food and the price is added to the shopping cart, or in our case added to the database. So we can just do that simply by creating the food model, and we just have to call the super on that now. So add home event just have to call super of food. Simple as that. Make sure to override the string. This is because we can just call add home event dot to string, and it's going to say that it's going to be a add home event. It's just for the sake of understanding and making sure that our application is clear. Alright, the next event is going to be the remove event. So what does the remove event take? The remove event does not have to take the entire food model class, because all we need to give in the case of removing is just the food name alone. We don't have the price. Need not have the price, because if you remember, in our store data we have only the 2 variables that are stored. The first variable is going to be the food name and the food price, which are going to be stored in the form of map. So all you have to do is just give the home event and go ahead and call the final string, which is the food name, and call the event off. Make sure to always have consistency, since you are adding home, add home here as well. Awesome. You're going to be done with this event as well. Again, override the string. We're going to call the remove home event. Awesome, we're done with this. 2 things have created, states and the events. 2 events is going to react to 3 states. So how are you going to map those 2 things with the 3? That is where the home block comes into picture. Just click on this. We've already auto generated this through the plugin that I told you. You don't have to worry about anything. If you see here, which already get initial state is called to the loading home state, because that is the first state that we wrote in the home state. Now it's time to map our events to states, which is going to be very simple. So every event can be obtained from this variable here. This variable is going to give us that. So if we all have to do is just do event is home, add home event. What are we going to do? We're just going to do an yield star, meaning that it's going to return a stream of values. We're just going to call map add event to add state. It's a really long function name, but just for the sake of understanding. Else if event is add, remove home event should be event, remove forgetting home event, make sure that it is map remove event to remove state. And the logic is going to come here. Else if nothing is, if it's completely different, some other event is being called for this block logic, yield just the loading home state, which is very simple, right? So we just have to give the loading home state as a response if in case you do not know what is the event that user wants. Cool, it's time to just go in and represent these two methods, and it's going to be simple as well. So since from the first video I told you guys that everything, events or states, everything is going to be in the form of streams. So we always have to have a stream of something. Here in this case it's going to be stream of states. So we just have to give home state because it's going to be in the form of a stream of home states. It's going to talk. We just have to create map add event to add state, and this is how where our business logic comes into picture. We're just going to first initially yield the loading state. Once we're done with that, okay, it was an error because we forgot to add the async star, meaning that we're going to tell that it's async stream of stars might be returned sometime in the future. So make sure that you add that and yield loading home state. So initial loading home state is going to be returned, and the next thing is our logic here. So we're just going to say if it's going to be an add event to state, we can actually get the event callback from here, meaning that since we called it through that, we can get the event callback from here. Make sure to get it that and catch it here. What are you going to do with this? You can actually store the value of the event that is being called. So we are going to add the logic, store logic here, right? So store logic is nothing but we have to put our food name in the model or food name in the store data dot file, which is again a simple mechanism to hold the values. We don't have a database in place. Instead, we have a singleton class which is going to hold the value throughout the life cycle of the application. So that is what you're going to do. Just go into your store logic file. Make sure to jump into store logic file, and in this file we're going to just do is we have to already have a model store data file created. So we just create that. And simple as that. We'll go here, just call store data dot store food details. And how are we going to get the food name and price? We're going to get the food name and price by doing event dot food dot name. So how is this food variable come into picture? The food variable comes into picture because we have in this created a model named as food, and that is how this name is going to be called. But in this case here we have a food name which is a string, so we have to add that as well properly. So event.food.name will represent the food name, and event.food.price is going to represent the price. Once you're done with this, again now yield the added home state in response, meaning that we've already added the files and the widget is going to react to that. Cool, that is also done. Next thing is going to react to the remove call. Map remove event to remove state, and event is taken. We're just going to initially do an async star, initially going to yield the loading home state. The next thing is the remove logic here should come here. So we're just going to do store data dot remove food details. The food name we have to give. We can do that by directly calling event dot food name, because that is what we have in the event block. If you can remember from there, just yield that the remove home state. Awesome. So our block logic is awesomely done. We don't have to worry about anything from this point. Let's forgot to give the event. Cool. Block logic is done. Our event is done. Our state is done. What else is remaining is to go back to our home widget here, which is the main dot file, and we're going to just make some slight modifications to this already available class, and we are done with this video. We are not going to look at the checkout widget dot file in this video because it's already been lengthened to a place where you have to know every bit of this. But I'm just going to go in and create this material app, which is going to change this material app. How are you going to do that? I would recommend you guys to this is a very important thing, because we don't need a stateful widget here at this point. Since using block pattern, you don't need a stateful widget. All you need is a simple way of storing these files, right? So we just can create a simple food main widget as a stateless widget itself. Now these calls are going to freak out. We don't need this at all here. Instead, we have to give the override and just copy this logic from here, which is our main scaffold, and put this here. Awesome. Now when done with that, make sure to also add these other variables that we require for this to be rendered properly. Now, why did I do this? The main reason that I did this is to provide this one with a block provider here. The block provider is going to be very useful The block provider is a class which is going to be part of the block package. It's asking for home state. Make sure to import home block is what you have to give in the main data. The first attribute is the builder attribute. It's going to take the context. It's going to take the context, and we're going to call the home block of. And the next is a child, which is going to be our food main widget. What you have done is just wrapped it around with a simple block provider, so that all our widgets here can actually take hold of that. Once you're inside our block provider, make sure to create the simple Cool, we have done this. Why are we going to require this? I'll just tell you guys in some time. Once we're done, we have created the scaffold. All you have to do is now replace our plus and minus signs with the proper dispatch of the events. All you have to do is go back inside this part here, and here we have done in the case of a add, we're just going to add to cart, right? We'll remove this method. Instead, what we're going to do is going to dispatch an event. We just call dispatch of. We have to give the event name. The event name we require is the add home event. So we just do the add home event, and the add home event is going to take what? It's going to take the food name as its important, as its parameter. So we can do that by simply doing food model of. We just have to give the name as our food name of count, and the price is going to be food price of count. Awesome, we have done this part, which is going to just release it at this point. And in this part here, instead of remove cart, we're just going to dispatch the next event, which is the remove event. Dispatch remove home event, and the name, this is going to be string and not a model, food model. So it's going to be, we just have to pass the name as food name price of count. And we are done with these two dispatch events. Dispatch events are super clear now. Now the users dispatch an event, plus is going to dispatch the add home event, remove is going to dispatch the remove home event. How are you going to react to the states that are going to come? That is where we are going to convert this badge which we created on the app bar. We need a +1 and a -1 whenever the states come back as add home state and remove home state, right? We just have to go in and now create this important class, which is the block builder. The block builder class is going to do a lot of things for us. Block builder is going to say convert the home block to a home state. And in this we have the first one, which is the builder itself. We just have to pass the context and the home state, or I'll just call it the state. And we're going to return our badge in this part, which whatever we copied now. We do not have the content as cart badge, right? Instead, what we're going to do, we're just going to keep it here for now. We are going to write the logic for our block badge builder. I would recommend to go in and have a global or a outer variable as total. For now, let's call it 0. In case if state is home, add home state, all you have to do is do a ++ total. Else it's going to be a -- total. But if total is less than 0, make the total as equal to 0. I know it's very crude logic, but I am really not looking to learn the basics of programming in this video. So total, make the total as toString, and the logic is done. We have done successfully created the logic, app logic here. Make sure to put the semicolon because we are returning. Okay, we need not have this part anymore. We can remove the stateful widget from here. Awesome, we'll run this application and see what happens when you are actually trying to make sure that this logic is running. We have got the application back and running. When you do the plus, it says +1 and -1, and this actually works pretty much solidly, just like we expected it to, by adding the Flutter block. And that's how simple you can do. You can convert the home screen to a block logic. Now if you want to convert the checkout screen into a block logic, again we need a separate block pattern for that, and we can just convert each screens to block logics, and it will be very easy for maintenance. Alright guys, so that's it for the video. I'm not completed with this entire logic because we still have the checkout widget remaining. I'll make sure that I cover that in tomorrow's video. Make sure to check it out tomorrow without fail. Until then, Bharat, peace out. Have a great day.